Welcome back to the weekly news roundup in the second part of the pre-recorded edition, as I am out of the ability to do a stream this week, so we will just be releasing each of the three segments as a separate standalone. I also do not have all of the articles specifically lined up on one page, so if you will want to see the articles, just have a look at the titles of the articles as I post them on the page. So if you want to help support the channel, have a look over the website, switchedtolinux.com/support. We have links there to our Patreon, Locals, and Subscribestar, as well as a couple of trusted affiliates. If you use any of those services, Mint Mobile and Amazon and A2 Hosting, those are all things that are great and will help us out if you want to help support the channel. So today we want to talk about the technology that keeps us broke. And this is an interesting one. I've kind of wanted to mention it for a while and kind of waiting for another place to fit it in. But, there's a lot of talk in our world about, everything's becoming unaffordable. And indeed, a lot of that is true. Some of that is true because of recessionary impacts. Some of that is true because of the brainhead dead choices that we happen to make in our lives. And so I want to talk a little bit about it because, I watch, there's a younger YouTuber on YouTube that will talk about a lot of economic things, and he does really well research videos and things. But of all the things I've never heard him mention is the fact that a lot of his generation, they're not just broke because they can't find jobs or things are so expensive. A lot of it is because of the lifestyle creep that we have allowed in. So if you will allow me, like in my email video earlier this week, allow me to go back into the past a little bit more. And back in these days around, before the internet, we didn't have all of these personal bills that we have now. We have a lot of personal bills now. We might have had one phone line for the house. We might have had one cable package for the house. Most people, obviously, in the 90s, we didn't have internet in our house. We didn't all run around with our own subscription services. We didn't run around and pay a bunch of movies to several different, bunch of fees to several different companies to watch, single movies or TV shows or things like that. It was a different time in that. And I'm not saying it was necessarily better or necessarily worse. I'm just saying it was different. And because there was a generation, a societal push back in that era, I'd say the early 2000s, and sociologists started calling this the boomerang generation. The young man would leave the house, they'd go to college for 4 years, then they would swing and boomerang right on back to their parents' house and then live at their parents' house for a while. Now, a lot of the cited reason at that time is because kids in that generation, they wanted to get their life started with the same lifestyle they had at their parents' houses. It just took their parents 30 years to get there. So they didn't see their parents when they were, before they were born or when they were first born. They didn't see their parents struggling with, both having jobs. They didn't see their parents struggling with very little things. They didn't see their parents struggling with the tiny television and the car that the bumper is falling off every other day. But those really are those things that a lot of the, my parents' generation did. And I have this weird photographic memory that can go back to my very, very early childhood before many people can remember things. And I do remember the little TVs and the broken down cars and things like that. And you look back at things and go, it was a different day back then. It really was. The problem we have right now is it's no longer that we can't afford, because remember in the 2000s, a kid couldn't go out and just get a credit card right out of college either. It just didn't happen. So you would go out, you couldn't get the credit. So you couldn't afford a widescreen TV like your parents had. You couldn't afford a nice car like your parents had. And so you just boomerang right on back so you can enjoy their entertainment system and their TV and their movie collection and all the things, all those creature comforts that you got so used to being, rather than jumping out and starting on your own on the tiniest little apartment, the tiniest little starter house, the $1,000 car that you're, praying it starts every morning. I remember I had this car, this Land Yacht Caprice Classic from the 80s, and I just couldn't get it started the one day. this old carburetor, something's going wrong in there. I finally got there. I get a battery charger. I run it had a jump start feature on it. I run this extension cable out to it, plug this guy in. I'm cranking this thing over and over. I finally got the thing going. Like, it left like a stain or something on the back of the parking lot. And my neighbor didn't actually have a car at that time. I run over his house. I finally got the car started. Let's go shopping, right? So, those are the things that built our character oftentimes. And so we look back and now this current generation, not only do we have so many more personal bills, even at a very, very young age, before we even move out, we have a lot of our own personal bills. And then we also have this seemingly endless supply of credit. And even if it's not an official credit card, it's now these buy now, pay later stuff. And so now we can finance our burrito over 4 easy payments, which is utterly insane because that burrito costs, like, even though you're not paying interest on that, you are paying a premium to be able to put it on 4 easy payments. Okay, if you haven't figured that out, it's kind of funny. Of course, most credit card companies make a lot more money by people who do not pay off their balance. I am what the credit card companies call a deadbeat customer because I pay off my bill every single month. Okay, I only put a small amount of my monthly expenses on it, and before the end of the month comes, I throw them a bunch of money and I pay the thing off, and they don't make any money on interest on me. I just, I'm not going to do that. So I'm a deadbeat customer to them. They make a little bit of pennies here and there as I swipe the card at the grocery store, and they get their little 1% off of me, but they're not getting that 30% interest on all that balance I've carried over. And that's what the young people has. And they have now credit card up the wazoo and everything up the wazoo. But the point I want to make here is the technology that has made us broke is the fact that we have been totally shifted from a very young age into this payment-based culture instead of a paid-for based culture. Back in those days, the closest we had to credit was layaway. You could go in to the store. In fact, I remember doing this at a Radio Shack. I wanted this nice, nifty little micro cassette recorder. It was like $100, man, to a middle schooler. I mean, I had a little tiny job. It paid me like $8 a week, in addition to anything else I could scounger up along the way. And I go to the Radio Shack, and they had this really nice micro cassette recorder, and I put that thing on layaway. I could go into the store every couple minutes and look at it again. Ooh, motivate me to work harder or whatever else. And it took me like 6 months to pay that thing down. And of course, I didn't get a chance to take it home until I paid every last dollar that was owed on it. But there was the promise that I was coming back every week and dropping a few bucks on it. And so they weren't going to sell it to somebody else. It was mine. I just couldn't have it until I finished paying for it. Well, now we just put it on the credit card. We take it home now. We get the dopamine hit, and then it wears off, and we're still paying on it 6 months later. And that's kind of a difference in the cultures. And so what happened in this period of time is we have gotten to this point where we have so many payments and so many subscriptions and so many things. It is in many ways those and not the fact that recessionary factors hit that is causing us to go completely broke. And I understand these things, okay? I mean, I've tracked my paychecks for years. I wrote some geeky spreadsheet that allowed me to calculate my exact take-home pay accurate to like 2 pennies, including all the taxes and stuff it'd take out and stuff like that. So I understand how a lot of those things work. And yes, there is a component of costs of some things have gone up way higher than wages. I was able to pay for 4 years of college by working a part-time job and only doing a tiny amount of loans. But at the same time, we also didn't spend excessive quantities of money on other things. So I want to talk a little bit about this because a couple of reports came out at the end of the year, which really highlighted some of these things. The first one was about streaming services. One of the things that happened in 2025 in streaming services is a massive rise up to about 29% fees. Now, there was one of our articles right here actually looked at the 2024 to 2025, and they only went up really with inflation over that year. They didn't go up a lot. They went up a little bit, but not a lot. But in 2025, These streaming services, massive increase in costs. We're all now addicted to them. Now, I say we as a culture as a whole. I personally do not have any streaming services. I don't have any subscription services. I have services I pay for at the end of the month. I have a cell phone. I have an internet connection for the main office. I have the backup internet connection and the Starlink. And I pay for, I don't know, a half a dozen servers on, spread over Linode and DigitalOcean and things like that. That's it. Now, all those, in fact, I think every bit of that comes out of my business checking account. Yeah, I don't actually personally pay for any of that. Every bit of that is like business expense. I believe so. Yeah, every bit of those comes out of my business checking accounts. I don't think I have any personal bills that are on any form of rotation like that. And so I use that term we as a collective of society, but you should seek to become weird like I am and have no subscriptions and services and things like that. Like the services I have, obviously, but the subscriptions, the streaming services and things like that. So the prices Americans paid for subscription and rental-based access to video streaming services and video games increased 29% from December 2024 to December 2025, according to the data the U.S. Department of Labor's Bureau of Labor Statistics released on Tuesday. That is a massive increase. In fact, we'll look at one of the articles here. Looks at the report. I think this is 2024, maybe it's 2023. We were spending over $1,000 a year. That going up 29% means now we're spending what about, is that about $1,300 a month, and $200 of that was things that we weren't even using. We didn't even, in some cases, know we had, which is interesting itself. So from November 25 to December 25 alone, subscription and rental of video games adjusted for inflation of 19.5%. Streaming and gaming subscriptions and rentals saw the highest inflation of any other subcategory, including food. And I'm going to comment on food really quickly. I see a lot of people like, food prices are going out of control. Guys, I travel the country full time. I am in a van full time. I have not seen this massive rise in food prices. Haven't seen it. Now, I don't buy processed garbage, but I was paying about $1 for a bag of carrots when I started this whole van life thing in 2021, and I think carrots are $1.25. Over 5 years, going up 25 cents. Maybe, maybe not, but that's on average. Okay. The only thing I've noticed any weird fluctuation was eggs. But that's up and down. I've seen them as high as $10 a dozen. I've seen them as low as $1 a dozen. Meats. I think meats have gone up a little bit in some categories, not in all categories, but in some categories, like fresh meats. Get a fresh steak, fresh beef, something like that. That will have gone up. I've not seen chicken go up at all across the country. I've not seen chicken go up at all. So all these videos we see about food prices going crazy. I am in like every state. I'm in multiple cities in every state. I haven't seen it. Now, part of this is I also don't shop at your big chain grocery stores because they are routinely ripoffs. So all these, if I can find them, Walmart, believe it or not, it's fine food. I mean, it's good and it's consistently cheap. You don't have to jump through all these weird hoops of the Shoppers Club card and then going for this sale or that sale. A lot of these stores, it's like, hey, the strawberries are cheap if I buy enough for a flipping army. You really, like, the strawberries, they're buy 7 get 1 free. Like, why? I'm exaggerating. It's usually like 2 for $5. One of them is $3.99, but 2 for $5. Like, I don't need to, like, I have a hard enough time going through one package of strawberries before it goes bad. All right. And that's unfortunately a lot of things. I don't want to dance with prices and dance with Shoppers Club cards and dance with all the, ooh, what bargains am I getting this week? Because the store's retarded. Go to Walmart. The prices are always the same. They don't play around with that crap. I promise you, if you don't think to shop at Walmart, try it sometime. It just saves so much mental energy. It's shocking. Ooh, support of the evil company. Guys, every grocery store company is evil. Okay, every one of them. Not a one of these grocery store companies is not. Okay, just go to Walmart. Trust me. It will save a ton of bandwidth from your brain. Okay. Streaming and gaming subscribe. Oh, sorry, you read that one. So subscribing to price hikes. Subscription-based streaming companies have been leaning on price hikes to fight slow and stagnated subscription growth. Last year, virtually every mainstream service, including Netflix, Disney Plus, HBO Max, and Apple TV, raised prices. By last year, this is written in 2026, so that means in 2025. I know some of us, our brains are still on 2025, but so experts expect streaming prices to continue to increase in 2026, but they're saying the price hikes will probably come in more subtler forms, such as upcharges to features like 4K and things like that. And so this is something I want to mention here. A lot of people are paying for way more information. You know, nearly every single person I've ever asked, how much data do you actually use on your plan? Nobody knows. Okay, you might be paying 30 to 40% more to get unlimited data when you could get away with saving 30, 40 bucks a month by getting the cheaper plan. I mean, you could just switch to Mint Mobile. I pay $180 per year. You know how much I've ever run out of data? Never. Now, I am not a typical consumer. I don't sit there and watch videos on my phone. For me, 5 gigabytes of data, which is the minimum plan I can get on Mint Mobile, just fine. Works great. All right. And so with that, I want to just simply point out that if you do not know how much data you use, look at that number. If that number is not consistently really high, cut your phone plan back to what you can. Especially if you're consuming stuff on your phone mostly at home, connected to home Wi-Fi, you're not using your mobile data anyway. There's no point in paying for the advanced, the unlimited data if you're not using more than 10 gigabytes, you know? And those are some of those things you think about. But not only did subscription services go up, but also we had a situation where app downloads declined in 2025, but consumer spending soared. $156 billion we are paying on subscription fees to apps. Now, we're not downloading as many new apps, but we are paying more for the apps that we continue to use. Now, some of this could very well be Microsoft Office. I have to pay for that. Do you really? I don't pay for Microsoft Office. I am considered a professional writer. I have more than 10 books. I sell more than 30 books a month. I write them all on LibreOffice. I format them all in LibreOffice. I send them out to distributors that will put them in every single bookstore you can buy them in. Stop telling me you have to have Microsoft Office. You don't. Okay? If LibreOffice ain't your jam, there's other ones out there as well. All right, so app downloads declined again. Consumer spending soared because we were throwing billions into subscription services. Subscription economy helped boost mobile app revenues in 2025, even though downloads declined for the 5th consecutive year. Consumer spending climbed 21.6%, reaching an estimated $155.8 billion during the same period. And the data indicates app developers, marketers, and publishers have been successful in getting users to make in-app purchases or activate subscriptions, even while the numbers of new users downloading the apps have been falling. So you are paying more money for all of these apps. And are you really needing all of these is going to be the question. Non-game app spending is up 33.9%. I have a sneaky suspicion that's due to the proliferation of gambling, for lack of a better word, Polymarket, DraftKings, stuff like that. We're gambling on general everything like Polymarket or just sports like FanDuel. Gambling is going up, and how much of this spending increase is caused by addictions? That's a good question we might want to ask ourselves as these apps are getting closer and closer to addictive models, and they're seeking all these things. We ought to be careful about how much we are actually spending, especially if money's being tight for us. You know, why are we throwing all of this money at these apps? Why are we throwing all this money betting on something stupid like who's going to win the election? I'm going to throw a bunch of money on that, see if I win. Why? Okay. Consumers spent $55.5 billion across all mobile apps, up 18.1% year over year from $47 billion in 2024. So the money, the streaming services are going up. We have a lot more of those. Subscription apps are going up. We have a lot more of those. These are things never existed when I was younger. None of this existed. Now, from a CNET article back in, this was June of 2025, you may be losing $1,000 a year to subscriptions and you may not even know it. A new study from CNET finds. They find that 4 out of 5 adults have paid for one or more subscription in the past year, but how much are you paying may surprise you. This is one of those sites that for some reason my highlighter does not work. So despite highlighting a lot of really cool things, because this is a big article, I don't have any of those. So my apologies for that as I stumble through it. But they say here the average U.S. adult spends $1,080 per year on subscriptions, nearly $200 on unused subscriptions. Now that is an average. It goes up as high as over $2,000 now a year. Now, to the point I made earlier, is $1,000 a year going to break your bank? Yes and no. If you are a 40, 50-year-old professional making six figures, or you're in good shape, you own your car, you own your house, $1,000 a year is nothing. There's no problem with that. Here's the problem. A lot of the younger people who are just getting out of college, they have a lot of student loan debt. They don't have a car yet. They're looking for a place to live. They're looking for a job. They're having difficulties in all these areas. The problem is these kids, because of our culture, are addicted to their phones. They're addicted to their apps. They're addicted to their streaming services. $1,000 per year for a person with student loans up to their neck, no house, no car. $1,000 a year is dramatically fatal to you. Fatal to you. Absolutely horrible. Especially since typically they're going to be the ones which has a lot more. There is actually some breakdowns in this chart by gender, by ages and genders and things like that. I think ages. I don't remember if it's genders or not. But having a look at this, they had some explanations for some people are starting to go down. Of course, they had said in polls, some people planned on cutting back some of their things. Remember, this is June. Subscription services have gone a lot higher, and our spending on apps and other subscriptions in apps have went up, not down from last year. So maybe this June article, maybe it turned a different way than they thought. Maybe it's June article, but it was reporting last year's data. I'm not sure exactly where all their data came from and how accurate it is. So this is, of course, this does suggest it was from 2025. So 4 to 5 adults have paid for one or more subscriptions. That's down 1% from last year, they say. Among adults who've paid for subscriptions, the average total spent was $90 per month, which adds up to $1,080 per year. That's $1 less a month and $12 less a year than 2024. So they're saying 2025 was down. However, the previous report from the labor statistics said it was up. So take that what you want, except this one was in June. The other one was the whole comprehensive year of 2025. So perhaps things went up a lot more dramatically in the end of the year, which actually would make sense because a lot of those price hikes happened near the end of the year. 61% of subscribers are rethinking their paid subscriptions because of the state of the economy. 26% have already canceled paid subscriptions. On average, people are reporting spending $17 a month for subscriptions they don't even use, adding up to more than $200 a year. And so the average was $1,000. The millennial spending on subscriptions was up to $1,025 and down to $205 for unused. Streaming subscriptions are the most popular. So they broke down gym memberships, meal kit services. The majority, 61%, are paying for streaming TV services, Netflix and Hulu, followed by e-commerce like Amazon Prime and music subscriptions. So probably Spotify, probably. So here's your subscription types. Of course, 61% is streaming and video, down to e-commerce. So, and you might arguably throw Amazon Prime, depending on how you primarily use it. You might throw that with streaming. Are you getting it for the free shipping, or are you getting it to watch content? There's a question. Here's music. Here's big box retailers, gaming, news and media, health and fitness, security apps, other software, and then not applicable is 20. Those are probably the ones over there, subscriptions to PH or something. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you what I got a subscription to, yo. All right. By average subscription spending by generation. So here's your Gen Z, of course, millennials, here's your Gen X, here's your boomers. So it's interesting there. Now, Gen Z is probably on the lower end of the spectrum or near average because they are still a little bit younger. They may not have the money for it, and those that are spending $94 or $81 in 2025, those are the ones that are hurting themselves by doing it. The millennials, these ones will have a little bit more, but oftentimes this generation is a lot more self-serving in some ways. And so they just kind of want what they want. That would explain why it's so high. Gen Xers, a little bit more conservative. And what's interesting is the boomers is the one that goes up dramatically. And I'm wondering if part of this is because as the boomers start retiring, they're buying subscription services to watch all the things that they want to do. So that makes a little bit of sense there. So having a look at the various state of subscriptions there, 61% are rethinking, 26% have already canceled a paid subscription, 24% are considering canceling a subscription. So there were some unused. So the unused happens because you either are getting a subscription service to something that you're just not even turning on a lot. Maybe you have a Hulu subscription that's still being charged to your account, but you're not actually ever using it. That would be one case. Another case they point out is you might have a service that comes free with one of those things, but you're still paying for the native version anyway. So, you can get some cable companies will come with Peacock. So you can watch the Peacock, but if you're still paying for an individual Peacock, even though it comes part of that subscription service bundle, well, you're actually paying for an unneeded bundle. And so that's one of those things that you want to think about as well. So then here's how to find and cancel subscriptions. This is really funny here. Try a budgeting app. Now, they do say that the budgeting app that they're going to recommend, use Rocket Money. Our affiliate link applies. Use Rocket Money. You can, for free, you can find out which subscriptions you have, and you can pay them to cancel those subscriptions. Really? You need an app to tell you you have all these subscriptions? Have you thought about, looking at your bank account? Why is this not number one? Well, it's not number one because CNET would love to sell you the affiliate link here to Rocket Money. They really want to do that, They want to make their cold hard cash, their advertising. We recommend it. This whole thing here is about Rocket Money. Rocket Money, Rocket Money. Consider a budget app. Rocket Money, Rocket Money, Rocket Money. I would not recommend any of these apps because you know what? All of these amazing Rocket Money and other apps like this, they're just collecting your data to talk to those data brokers. So earlier in the news we talked about should all be banned. All right, especially since it's pretty simple. It's rudimentary stuff to simply audit a checkbook. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen one of these. This thing is called a checkbook. If you open it up, let me open up to a page that actually doesn't have numbers on it there. See, there's these little things here called ledgers. Little things here called ledgers. And these little things here with these ledgers, you can put in your transactions and keep track of what's going on here. And as you do that, you can keep track of your money and who it's going to. And if you're like, every month I'm paying Hulu, I don't watch Hulu. Guess what, genius? You're paying for Hulu and you're not using it. You didn't need an app to tell you that. Do you have a functioning brain? I don't know. And so audit your bank account makes sense. That should be number one. Like your brain should go to seeing what's in my bank account. Like your brain should go to seeing what's in your banking account every few days. I mean, if nothing else, make sure no scammer has gained access to it because you've mindlessly thrown your card as you're throwing your card all over town like some tramp or something. Just you probably ran it across a skimmer at some point. That thing leaves your wallet so much it's being picked up by RFID readers all over the place. Leave that thing in the wallet. Practice safe spending. Okay. And audit your bank account. You don't want to be looking like, oh, I know it's super convenient to have these apps. It will automatically do it for you. Oh, look at this. No, audit your bank account yourself. It makes a lot more sense to do that. Here's what if you want to, save money on subscriptions? This is decent advice. Suppose you want to keep your subscriptions. That's okay. So I'm not going to be caught dead doing it, but you can rotate them, watch Netflix for a month, binge all the stuff you want to watch, cancel Netflix, jump in with Hulu, watch everything you want to watch over there for a month. That way you're not paying for both of them concurrently because you can't exactly watch all those anyway. Also, you can ask about special offers. We actually, who is it? Somebody, I think one of our supporters said they called the company up. They were going to raise the price. He called the company up, told him he was a senior citizen, and they discounted it. Awesome. Try that if you're old. Try it up. Hey, I'm a senior citizen. Do you have any discounts for senior citizens? They might. They might have discounts if you're a veteran. They might have discounts for any number of things. Call them up and ask them for a discount. If nothing else, say, hey, I'm thinking about canceling my subscription. What do you pay me to stay? You'd be surprised. They'll send you over to their customer retention team who will offer you like $1 off a month for 12 months or something, Cool. Awesome. You can also bundle. Like I said, you can get a lot of the services have this. I hate this personally because under no circumstance do I want to go get some service and, hey, it comes free bundle with Hulu. I don't want Hulu to have my information. I'm never going to sign in to use it. No. Can you give me a discount for this? Because I ain't using that crap and I don't want anything to do with that crap. Yeah, that's it. All right. So consider free or low-cost alternatives. There you go. There are some free streaming places. I am, of course, a huge advocate of building up your movie library, building up your music library. Thrift stores are your friends. Amazon used DVDs are your friends. Be more careful with that one, things like that. So there's methodology as well. They commissioned YouGov to conduct the survey. All figures, unless otherwise stated, are from YouGov. Total sample size was 2,440 adults. That possibly is why there's a discrepancy. It's smaller sample size than the labor of statistics, and the field work was undertaken between April 28th and 30th, which means very early in 2025 versus the previous article we looked at was the whole year of 2025. Figures have been weighted and are representative of all U.S. adults aged 18 and older. So, of course, they had to filter out younger people as well. So, ultimately, that's kind of my take on this. I really think that is the subscription services, this consumer mindset, the fact we didn't talk about we spend way more money out at restaurants than we should. We spend way more money on little toys and gadgets than we should. Ultimately, we're spending a whole lot more on things than we should be. And that's one of those factors that we definitely want to consider revising and looking at something else. So there are my thoughts about this. Let me know your thoughts about all these in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.